Dr. Sofia, hello. The elections are upcoming in a few days in Lebanon, and many statistic companies and studies are showing that a big percentage of the Lebanese people are boycotting the upcoming elections. I know you boycotted, you have always boycotted the elections in Lebanon. Why do you do that?
Yes, it's true that lots of people are thinking of boycotting the elections for different reasons. They don't all agree on the same reasons on why they are boycotting the election. Personally, I boycott the elections usually from the beginning because I'm against the sectarian system. The setup of the Lebanese system is based on religious sects, which is very similar to the Indian caste system. And the stratification of the sects is also the same in accordance with the caste system from upper to lower. What is represented as being better sects and worse sects in the gradation. That was started by the Ottoman Empire, which put the Sunni at the top of the stratification level. And in Lebanon, we moved this to the Maronite. And so we have fixed positions for fixed caste systems. You will have a Maronite president of the republic no matter what. You cannot have somebody from another caste or sect. And the same for the prime minister and the same for the head of the parliament. So I boycott because I'm a person who believes in citizenship. I believe in the democratic system. I believe that we should be free to join, elect, on the basis of us as citizens and not on the basis of a caste or sectarian system. This is why I usually boycott. There are many people like me who boycott from the beginning, did boycott, are not enthusiastic about elections because we cannot change the system through elections and we are not allowed to have a referendum to change the system. In nation states, usually you have a referendum, like for example in England last year they asked people whether they want to remain within the European Union or leave the Euro. This is a referendum. We don't have this in Lebanon because we are not within a democratic system.
So what is the problem with the Lebanese system as you articulated in the book?
The whole region, you have to remember, was under Ottoman rule. The Ottoman Sultanate ruled on the basis of religious sects. That is, the Ottoman rule decided that it is a Sunni sect, and all the other religious sects will have to be ruled by a religious head. And so the divisions were not based on ethnic divisions or national divisions, rather on religious divisions. So that, for example, if I'm a Greek Orthodox, I will have the same head as the Greeks in Greece, and the same in Egypt, etc. And for the Maronites, the same thing. So because of that situation, the whole area in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, the whole area inherited, and even in North Africa, but much less than us here, because we have a multiplicity of sects, while in North Africa, they are basically Sunni Muslims in general, very few Christians. So in this area, we have the multi-sect based on the millet system. It's called the millet system under Ottoman rule, that we inherited this. And we inherited with it the personal status laws, which is that when we are born, we are put within the government, puts us under religious sect, not under, let's say, your village, no, under your sect, whether you are Christian or Muslim and what kind of denomination you have. This has survived, and this is bringing a lot of division within the Fertile Crescent area. Division among the people within each state, like Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, or Jordan, even Palestine, because of this system that we inherited and that we refuse to change.
Since there's no way out, and you spoke a lot about a referendum, well, the elections will not change anything. So how will that system change?
Boycotting, I think, because you brought up this issue in the beginning, is not a solution for me, because boycotting is passive. It is not something that is positive. You cannot change by boycotting. Unless 70% of the population boycotts then this is like a revolution, a peaceful revolution, whereby you can impose change. But this is not happening. And the heads of sects are very clever. Before elections, they distribute services, they distribute money, and therefore people will show their allegiance to the sects rather than to the idea of having a citizen concept with a law, a rule of law. So the problem is very difficult to solve, I think. In France, for example, in the 18th century, they had to do a revolution to change their system into a democratic system. Whether we are going to have a revolution or whether we can initiate the change through peaceful means is very hard to tell. It's very hard to guess what direction Lebanon is going to have. But under the sectarian system, as we can see, we have collapsed. The government has collapsed. The state is collapsing. We have no money because the sects cannot agree and can no longer function within the context of the 21st century.
Although you see that it's pointless, we can also see that money, effort, and a lot of time are being put into that upcoming political elections in a way. So politically, what would that change?
Yeah. My prediction is that not much is going to change because the same figures will come up again into the parliament, and the function of the state will continue the same. Not because they have achieved something. We know that now the country has collapsed because they did not do what they are supposed to do. That is work for the benefit of the people. They did not do that, and therefore it's a failure. We have a failed state. So they will not change anything. The problem is we don't have the other alternative. We don't have another choice. So people are going to boycott or elect. Those who are going to elect, 90% are going to be the same people. And after the elections, is going to be a very open question because we are also linked to the international setup and what is going to happen in Ukraine, the developments there, because we are affected by what is happening on the international scene. Since we are a small country, we are not like India. We are 10,000 square kilometers, and therefore we are almost helpless. And we wait for other agencies, other nations, their power play, who is going to rule, to see where we are going to land. The IMF is one possibility. That means that the US will be very influential through the IMF, but it may not work. Maybe after the elections, we will find out that the proposals of the IMF are not good for our economic conditions. They cannot salvage, because usually the IMF, what it does is that they lend you money and then they tell you we want to get it back. So they will make you poorer and poorer in order to extract back the money. It's not that they are donating money. They are not donating money for you. So I think it will be worse, my feeling. After the election, the condition is going to be much worse than now.
Previously, in different conversations, you have spoken on TV and in your lectures about the international system and how that would affect the region, not only Lebanon. How do you think the future will look like for our region, for West Asia?
I think, and India also is also in the game, because India has already sided with Russia because they made lots of deals, exchange with the ruble, and they are getting away from the dollar system because we are moving into we are no longer in a unipolar world. We are moving into a multipolar world. And India realizes this. We realize this in Asia in general. The whole continent of Asia is realizing that the power of the US is waning. It cannot control the world anymore. The war of Ukraine now is a war between Russia and NATO. That is the American forces versus the Russian forces. And the whole of Asia wants a multipolar world because it makes it easier for us to trade, to move with the economy, to have the Belt and Road that the Chinese are thinking about, and to open the markets, because the Americans usually want to control those markets to their own benefit. The fight is over the dollar. I think the dollar is going to disappear little by little because now Russia is asking the money in the ruble, not in the dollar system.
How will that affect West Asia?
It affects us because we were always part of the American Western vision. And now, even Macron stated this in a speech a month ago, that the West is losing its colonies, it's losing its power. And therefore, we are moving into, I think, more independent from Western influence, and we will have, I think, a better future. But in the meantime, it's going to be a very hard time because we are in transition from one unipolar into a multipolar one.
And the last question is, if we don't believe that the election can change anything about the system, what can change?
No, I don't think it will move us into any different direction that will necessitate, the whole upheaval that the whole world, I think, is going through. And we will have to wait for the consequences of that upheaval to see where we are going to land. In the meantime, we have a lot of help proposed by China, by Russia, by Iran, that the government refuses because it is still addicted to the Western vision and to the Western power. So if that becomes weaker, maybe then we will accept the help from China for our economy, so that we'll have a better economy than we have now.